have fun with this. So, what's going on? What's been going on at the fuel factory?
Well, just maintaining a lot of the programs this time of year, as you know, a lot of maintenance stuff for guys,
Phoenix, Arizona. What's up, Zinger?
and a lot of the youngsters. Little league's cranking up out here, so getting a lot of those guys in here as well.
Cool. So we're pretty excited. We're coming out for a clinic on the 22nd of March and then a camp on the 23rd, 24th. And I know you said you had about 10 guys that were interested in the clinic.
Yeah.
And I got a guy right now coming to the camp looking for hopefully more guys that want to come in. Don't leave it all to just a few of them that get all of our attention, right? Get some more guys down there that can take advantage of it. Trying to get up some of the questions. If y'all got any questions, it's a good chance. Ask both of us. You got Coach Zinger here, who you can ask questions to. You can follow him at Coach. Isn't it Coach Zinger on username? I mean, your username on Instagram, Coach Zinger.
Yeah, and then Fuel Factory Sports also has their own.
Okay, and then Fuel Factory Sports is another one if you want to follow them. But you got both of us today. You can ask them questions. We'll see how this works. Right now, let's see if we got any questions on Instagram over here. I think we jumped the gun. Normally I'm at 5 o'clock, but here's Dan. Dan always has a question. He's asking me, how do you transfer the target throws to a full motion throw on the mound, having trouble translating? Was 77 on lateral target and only was sitting 80, 81 on mound. That's still a good improvement. I mean, Zinger, you add in your take on this, but when guys go from flat ground work to mound work, you just have to be able to take advantage of the mound. The mound uses a decline, which allows you to get momentum, but where guys can actually have a hard time making an improvement or a velocity jump to the mound is when they let that decline get them lazy, and they stop really getting into their legs like they were doing really well in the flat ground, and they're just kind of falling into their front leg, and they're not being dynamic, they're not being explosive. So, taking all the things that you're trying to do really well, specifically in our drills, hip to shoulder separation, all your powerful leg drives, and we got to get that on the mound and not let the mound make you too lazy. What can you add to that, Zinger?
Yeah, I mean, I think I see a lot of guys too that will do well with the drill, and then they get on the mound and try to do more. Instead of, I think you have to trust your drills. I mean, if your drills are working on what they're supposed to, when you get up there, it's not time for more. I'm a big believer that the master can do it at 50% as well as at 100%.
That's a good.
So being able to have some feel, not feeling like you got to do so much once you get on the mound, like especially mentally, guys get a block.
Yeah, I get, like we had a guy today. He hit 90 on flat ground. I mean, that's impressive, right? And then he hits he's 91 on the mound, but he gets on the mound and all of a sudden his back leg's not working the way it was working on the flat ground. So actually, because we're such a lower half approach, I can a lot of times get guys throwing better on flat ground than they do on the mound, because once they get on the mound, they don't think they have to use their legs as much anymore. So it's trying to get them to, still get into your legs on the mound, because now we got that added momentum to make that increase or make that improvement with.
And then I'd say if you have a build really good for you, we'll do our med balls off the mound as well. We'll do them flat, but we'll, in order to incorporate that good drill or that feel that you get from a drill, get on the mound with it as well. Mix it into your delivery.
I like blending. I like if they're doing really well in a drill or they're doing really well on a flat ground, I like to blend, like go back and forth and kind of confuse the body to do the same thing.
Absolutely.
So what else we got? Good question, Dan. We got play independent league in Mexico, starting pitcher every Sunday. Can I still practice like if it was off season? So if you're just pitching on Sundays and you're probably going more than a couple of innings, I think you're going to have a hard time lifting at the volume you do in the off season. I think that's the biggest thing. I'm fine with keeping the drills going. That's all good stuff. But I think the volume that we do with the lifting, getting up to like a performance week of 95% of a max, I think that just can be too taxing to your central nervous system. Your central nervous system's already getting fried from, say, a 7 inning game, and probably needs 3 days to recover from that. And then, at that point, if you hit a big lift at that point, you're almost up on the mound in a couple of days. So I think it can be a little bit too much. I actually did it in my career, and it was really taxing. So you just got to be careful with that. I would rather be in an in-season approach with less volume. What do you got on that, Zinger?
Yeah, I totally agree. Definitely been on both sides of that spectrum. I think there's a happy medium. It's not that you don't want to lift, but it's not that you want to, like you said, push it to the exact max. I think that if you will, maintain during the season, that means continuing to do lifts, working on your technique. I think lifting also serves a good purpose with flexibility, and being able to get into some of these positions. So I think you want to continue to do it. Just like Brent said, if you're doing too much of it, you're going to defeat the purpose of being a pitcher.
Right, because it might be conflicting and taken away from the energy and the fresh, the stamina that you need to perform in the game. And that's definitely what you don't want to do in your training approach. You don't want to take away from your performance in the game because you're trying to peak your performance in your game. I made you bigger, so now it looks even cooler. All right.
I see the side profile now.
Yeah. So let's see. That was a good question. What's the best way to gain velocity fast for a smaller pitcher? Fast is the problem. I have a hard time with. That changes the question. So how to increase velocity of a smaller pitcher? I always say you're disproportionate. If you're disproportionate in size, now you got to be disproportionate in other things, other factors, other things that influence velocity, like mobility, strength, power, speed, motor control, and being able to incorporate that through the biomechanics that we know are optimal for and peaking. So if you're disproportionate over here in size, you got to be disproportionate in these other abilities, and that's how you really balance it out as a smaller guy. And as far as doing it quickly, I think that's a problem. Be careful with that because it's like you can sell yourself short, meaning like you can, it's the old saying, like you can get halfway and then now you're turning around because you didn't do it in the right amount of time, and a little bit longer, all of a sudden you're getting closer to where you wanted to be. So you got to be careful with putting time limits on that. What do you think about that, Zinger?
I think the same approach as far as like longevity goes. Like you're focused on longevity versus that fast. There's really nothing that's sustainable that's going to happen now.
You're right, Zinger. I know you can't. Zinger, you can't see my head, but they can see my head. For some reason, I can't get your camera up. But no, you're good. Just think because you can't see me, they're not seeing. It's all fine. You're perfect in it. So. Next question. In the 3X program, it says box, squat, orange, and green. Can you elaborate? So those are just levels. So if you're ever using a plyo box, it'd be like a 24-inch to an 18-inch. It's just levels. Okay, the long toss, 320 feet. Well, I long toss 320 feet, but my velo is not there. Okay, so here's the thing. Studies show at max distance in long toss, we're more rotational. We rely less on the sagittal movements, the forward trunk movements. We rely more on the angular movements, the angular pelvic movements, the angular trunk movements, the elbow extension flexion movement. So studies are showing you're in actually different mechanics in a max distance throw. So that becomes an issue. So you want to elaborate on that?
I think it all has to come down to getting guys out. So if you're changing your delivery, yes, it's good to be adaptable. And I know that's part of the positive of maybe some longer throws. As far as anything, I think that fully red line, I don't see it working for.
What happened? You went out? Yeah. So you're basically.
I think it just has to transfer. I think there has to be. If you're going to do something, it has to have the effect up here in the bump.
So what you're saying is kind of along the lines of the studies that if I'm going to use different mechanics to go these max distances, how's that going to help me on the mound when I'm using mound mechanics?
I think that's why guys will struggle with the transfer as well, because I mean, yes, it may be a max effort thing up here. You keep pointing at my mound, you can't see it, but
Yeah.
I think if at the bottom line at the end of the day you're looking to get guys out, you're looking to hide the ball, you're looking to have all the factors that you can have, the deceptions, having a late delivery is good. I think sometimes the extreme, actually probably most of the time, the extreme stuff is push you outside of the range, probably your best.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
You gotta be careful. Just like anything, you gotta make sure that it's gonna help you.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. Like, we got to stay, it's a skill. We have to stay within the skill. So, there's a lot of things we can do outside the skill, but if it's anything similar to what the brain understands as the skill, it needs to be pretty as close as we can. If you're in a power clean, for example, with my approach, your brain's not going, well, this is pitching. That's why we have to do other things to transfer it. But there's a lot of things we can build there that we can transfer over. But when we go out and we throw along a max distance throw, I almost feel like that's worse than a lift, because your body goes, hey, I'm throwing, and then it starts, creating muscle memory around that and making that something that becomes habit, right? Becomes second nature. And then it can confuse you. And then you get on the mound and you're like, oh, I'm throwing. And now you're throwing more like you did at max distances, which we know are different. So I feel like in a lift, you don't have that confusion.
If your focus is like, how far can I throw this versus like, I know there's a point for doing some kind of stuff, but it's like when I'm playing long toss, I'm looking at my partner here, or here, or here, or here. It's not just that. There's an intention to what I'm doing.
Right.
With this
So what
baseball.
do you feel about arcing though? Like,
out at whatever distance, I want to hit my partner square between his shoulders.
So how do you feel about like arc? So obviously those mechanics are changing, because now I'm throwing so high up. What do you feel about, in a long toss? Should you go and start changing your arc or your trajectory? Should you change that, or should you try to stay in the same trajectory as you do when you pitch?
I've done a little bit of both. I think the same focus though. Like if I'm going to throw it, and I don't necessarily think of the arc. I'm more thinking of the intensity of the throw. So like if I'm doing a smoother, easier throw at, let's say 60, 70%, I guess it could have more of an arc to it, but I still want it to go where I want it to go, and it's just a more dialed down. Like I think it's, especially for me, it was easy to go fast. It was harder for me to learn how to work at 50% right way, and then be able to go to 60 and 70. And being able to, I think that helps you pitch as well. So you can vary the speeds on your fastballs, still live in the zone.
What is the weight of the medicine ball that you guys throw the overhead? So we use a 2-pound medicine ball. I don't like going over 2 pounds because the weight slows the delivery down too much. That's my opinion. And I also found a study with soccer players using a weighted soccer ball to improve velocity, and they said up to 2 pounds increased their throw-ins, and then over 2 pounds it started to work against it. So I think 2 pounds is enough for those balls. How do you gain velocity fast? Oh, we already did that. Elbow angle. What impact does it have on velocity? Hand closer to the head, or hand closer to the head, 70 to 90 degrees of elbow flexion versus 50 to 70 degrees of elbow flexion. So that's a good question. Like I understand like 90 flexion. So here's the thing. Yes, everyone should be in 90 flexion. The arm's gonna want to externally rotate and rotate better than anything too extended. But when we go too far in, like if I'm 50 degrees, Zinger, I'm like this. The problem is when I turn, my arm's not really gonna want to lay back there like it does back here. It has more of a lever to lay back into. If I'm here and I turn, I see a lot of guys who do that, their elbows pop out really quick, and then now we've got a problem of delaying internal rotation pronation, Now it becomes, to me, you were doing this to reduce stress, but now you're could potentially be adding stress because of that, the elbow horizontally adducting. And the other thing is, I don't like the mentality of changing elbow flexion to change release point coming out of arm cocking. For example, guys that are very rotational, they get what it's called forearm flyout. That's because your trunk is spinning and centrifugal force is pulling your arm away from your body. So trying to go more inside 90 so it pulls it less of a way, I don't think that's a good approach. I would rather get my trunk more linear so it wants to stay in flexion because everything's going forward and not flying off and away from the body. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I would say the same thing you finished with there, but I feel like, if I'm right-handed, wherever the arm is a result of what the trunk's done, right? So if I throw the ball with my right shoulder, my hand's going to kind of be in that happy zone where it needs to be. Versus if I'm like what you're showing with the trunk, where it's like if I'm coming out here like this, that's definitely not this is not the solution to that. It would be letting this shoulder push this shoulder out of the way versus this shoulder leading the way. And technically it'd be the back leg and the back hip, right? It's
right.
Drive that back shoulder.
Yeah, no, and same thing. Like you're saying, the back shoulder replaced the front shoulder. That wouldn't that be classified more of a linear trunk movement as opposed to just a rotational trunk movement? Okay. Yeah, I think we're saying the same thing. Is it a no-no throwing the day after a heavy day of bench and back row? I was throwing 78% and still felt a shock running from the shoulder down to the bicep, the elbow pain. Yeah, I don't like throwing much after a heavy upper body day. And if you went really heavy, if you did some 3 sets of 10 on push-ups, I actually liked to throw the next day. It gave me especially after shoulder surgery, gave me some more. I felt stability in my shoulder. But definitely, if I had a heavy bench day or upper body day, definitely wouldn't want to throw the next day because I'd be fatigued. I'd be halfway through it, and my arms would just be shut down, and that could be what was happening. What would you add to that?
I think if you're in season, that's once again the same thing we talked about at the beginning. The season is different than out of season. In season, it's probably not the time to do your heavy chest day or heavy bench day, or especially a bunch of reps where you would be sore. If you're in season, you probably do want to throw the day after you throw. You probably want to throw at least 5 days a week, but I think your loads are going to be significantly less in the weight.
Yeah, I'm trying to lift 2 days a week in season.
That kind of stuff too. That's still going to be explosive, but it's going out running 20 pulls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do like lifting in season personally, and I program it in, but it's only 2 days a week. I lift, so I would rather you be lifting after you throw, and then lifting lighter later in the week if you're a starter. If you're a relief pitcher, you're just trying to find a day you get off, and I would want to lift the day before. If I know I had the next day off, I'm gonna lift that day off, and then I'm throwing again. That way, I can keep my central nervous system sharp and keep my muscles hypertrophied, because I don't want to be gaining 30 pounds, 20 pounds of muscle in the off season, and then losing 15 to 20 pounds by the end of the season. That's gonna work. It's going to take away a lot of the gains I made in the off season.
I think too, as a reliever, I like to get workouts in after the game that I threw, because I knew I'd probably have all the way until the next night to go. But once again, I wasn't doing super high volume.
Love the info you guys put out. Love watching you guys. Luis Ortiz, thanks, Luis, sorry. My son did some of your videos to work on his back leg routine during the winter. He got a call. Sorry, Luis. Facebook will cut it off. Sounds like you had some good news. We're glad to hear it. Should I bend or blend the lateral target throws at the full motion, both throws being on the mound? Yeah, you can blend that. What is the average speed for a freshman to be throwing? Singer, we get these questions a lot. A lot of guys want to know how hard should they be throwing at certain points in their career, specifically when they're young. I'm not a big fan of that mentality. I would want to set a goal of where I'd want to be at the end of my high school career, or at the end of my college career, or at the end of my pro career, or in the middle of those careers, and try to just work towards a goal, strictly for the fact of keeping a job, or keeping me sought after, or recruited. What's your opinion on that?
So you're breaking up on me a little bit, so I didn't hear the full question.
So he was asking he was saying, what's the average speed for a freshman to be throwing? So I was just saying, like, you get this a lot. Like, what do you tell these young kids on where they should be? I usually say it's where you want to be later on.
It's such a hard thing, I think it's more of an individual thing. Like, yes, we can group guys and tell you if you're average or this or that, but I think a freshman in high school that's hit puberty versus a freshman in high school that hasn't hit that jump yet. I think it's difficult to compare yourself to other guys. I know we tend to do that, but I think look at where you're at in your growth process and then how much work you put into it to this point.
Okay.
That's kind of where I would go.
Cool. I like it. I'm a coach of a few teams. I have to throw more than the usual training program. Should I be taking less reps on target throws to help with staying fresh, and will that make it harder to improve fast? Yeah, I don't think you need a lot of baseball throws in my program. If you're overdoing it, I don't want you to overdo it. You can definitely curve it down. I even tell guys, if you're sore, just do your med balls for the day. So yeah, definitely bring that volume down. Can you convert lifting, power, squat, deadlift, bench, etc. into speed fairly quickly? I think it's hard. I think you do need a strong strength base to build power. This is the goal, is a combination of strength and speed, and you definitely need that strength. But speed is something that takes time to build in with your strength. I think they both take time. So the thing is, like, I don't think one of them is quick. You really need to do them together, and the goal is to ultimately pull them together, specifically in the skill, which means you need a lot of drill work in the skill to help that conversion. How do you work with your guys that are getting stronger but not faster, or getting faster not stronger? How do you help them get that perfect combination?
I still think back of when we were sitting with Matt Bruce and talking about some programs and stuff. I think there has to be a combination of things in the program. I think that's something you did a really great job with your programs. There's such a variety of different things, plyometrics to lifting, to med ball. I mean, there's so much stuff. I think they probably take a look at the programming and just make sure that you're getting everything that you need.
Yeah, I think, like you and I don't like to phase things out. I like to, even Matt Bruce, I like to keep it all working together. So I like make sure we're building strength equally with speed, equally with the skill of what we're trying to convert it to. I like doing it all together and juggling everything. People think that's not the right way. That's your opinion. I like it because you don't fall into atrophy. So if I'm working on trying to keep my get my strength up, and I'm not working on speed, or I'm not working on the skill, then I get this great strength, and then I go in and all I am is just a strong guy trying to throw efficiently. And the point is, now I got to go spend all this time working on my speed, working on my motor control, and then I have to neglect my strength, and then my strength goes down, and you're kind of like balancing and going back and forth. So wouldn't you say, Zinger, you're not a big advocate of phasing things, right? You kind of like to keep it all blended, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think blending's key, especially if you're into combine strength and speed and power stuff that you create in the weight room, put it into the skill. Definitely need to find a balance. Say hi to Poles, people.
What's up, Poles?
This is he.
Glad you're on. Tell them what you do at Fuel Factory.
Enjoying it here.
What do you do? You coach there? Or you hang out, or what?
Yeah, I hang out, but I coach hitters.
Awesome. So you're the hitting coach.
Yeah.
Well, good.
Exactly.
So do you like pitchers at all?
Some of my best friends are pitchers.
Well, this is a virtual world of pitchers you're in right now. So.
That's what I'm told.
So we got, let's see, another question. Heading to Top Velocity, be there Monday. Staying with Stevie G. Awesome, man. Excited. Zinger, how's your summer coming? We're starting to get a lot of guys planning the summers out. How's your summer looking?
Yeah, we're excited about the summer. We're going to be adding a bunch more hours and sessions. And yeah, we're pumped. The summer's when we're jamming.
Oh, so Luis just said his son. My son did one of your videos to work on his back leg routine during the winter. He got a call up by the Orioles. That's exciting. Congratulations. Can't beat that, right?
Awesome.
Would you recommend doing sprints on flat ground or up a hill? If I had a choice, I would always do it up a hill. Sprinting on hills, the load on your lower half is like, 100 times greater because of the dorsiflexion positions. Even going downhill, sprinting downhill is really good for ankle stability, upper body strength and power. Zinger, what do you think of sprinting, flat ground sprinting or sprinting uphill? What would you pick?
I mean, I like uphill and downhill as well. I think downhill serves a good purpose too. I also like sprints in the sand. Some barefoot work with the sprints, but I think once again get a variety. And I think some single leg type of hops and sprints are also very helpful versus just straight running.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think you can beat resistance sprints. It's just a lot of power. You can build a lot of power in your legs. Sprinting and definitely adding more resistance just makes it even better. Like I used to push things. I remember pushing like my car, or I had an old golf cart I would push around. Really great way to build leg power. My son is working with your beginner program. He is having trouble getting his body to move away from the rubber to get in position for the leg drive without his lift leg pulling him forward. That's a big thing, Zinger. A lot of kids, when they're young, they lift their legs and they have a hard time getting loaded into their backside, getting power out of their backside. They just want to use the lift leg to fly open, to pull them down the mound, and then everything just wants to go together. I think the King of the Hill is a great tool for that. Obviously, learning how to drive and separate, I think, is an important way to understand that. What do you think helps in that issue?
I really like the sled work as well for that, because I think, and maybe even an ankle weight on the front leg, put an ankle weight on the front leg, and then sled up the back leg, and you can help that. I think Velo Pro is good for that. The King of the Hill, all the med ball drills, especially the ones where you start from your knee and you get stuff, but creating that feel.
But it's a common thing. Don't you see a lot of young kids with that problem?
I see all the time.
Yeah, so it's something that where I believe it's like training wheels. Like that to me, that's you're still crawling, and you're trying to run. And you see a lot of these kids, they want to run before they walk, and that's the ones that they just start getting really aggressive and throwing their lift legs out there, and it becomes a mess. Let's see what else we got. Why does my power and velocity decrease throughout the season? Well, that can be highly correlated to weight. So if you're losing your weight, if you lost 10 pounds this season, that has a strong correlation to loss in velocity. I find a lot of guys when they come to me out of season, they're very early with their arm cocking. They become more upper body dominant. They just basically shut their lower half off. So I find losing the weight could be a lot of the mass in the legs, which is a lot of your power. So I think that's what's breaking down. I mean, I experienced that. We all kind of experience that. And to me, that's what's going on. What do you think, Zinger?
I think you got to pay attention when you're playing catch. I think guys tend to get sometimes sloppy in their routines and their habits. In the off season, they're really focused on stuff, some detailed stuff, and then they get into the season and just get into that the high ho hum, just kind of showing up and getting to work and watching a game. You still have to be diligent, and you still got to get in the weight room. You got to make sure you're continuing to get your explosion, especially your sprint work.
Yeah, I think that what it is. I think guys just get so lazy. Guys get really lazy in season. It's like that, the constant, like, traveling. If you're, say, in college, pro ball, that constant traveling and like eating bad, and like it just kind of like it kills all your routines. So you really got to be disciplined to really stick to a routine. And I mean, you got to have it written down, like with our programming. You got to have it in your hand and just be diligent at following it. Don't you think in season that's important?
Well, I think in season two, if you expect that you're going to get that from your high school or your college coaches, it's kind of tough. I mean, when there's 30 guys to watch out over, they don't necessarily know that you're doing your mental drills or your sled drive drills or your med ball drills or whatever the little things that you tend to do, on your own. I think guys need to make sure they take ownership and responsibility of their workload. I see a lot of guys that'll blame the workload on the coach. Well, they didn't let me do this or this or this. And it's like, that's the stuff you got to do on your own.
Right, and you got to find a way to do it. You got to call ahead and find a gym. You got to do it on the side. Even if you're worried about your coach scrutinizing or taking it away, you just got to get away and do what you can to be able to do your work, what will keep you maintained through the year. How fast should you be throwing the 2-pound med balls for each drill to have it correlate to 90? I always say, the separation throws are going to be the closer one to your delivery. You can pretty much double it. I think it puts you in a range. If you're throwing 40, you're throwing 80. I get a lot of 80-mile-an-hour guys can throw 40. When you're throwing 45 to 47s, you're throwing pretty hard. So you should be you should be around 90 at that point or better. I think, I've noticed that just with doing this for so long, that's the speeds I've seen. Are you seeing any similarities now that you're doing more speeds with your med throws?
Yeah, I'd say same thing, same ranges. Obviously the goal is getting to 40.
And one thing to be careful of, like today we had Zach spike and hit a 50. Now, he was sitting 44, 45. Was that radar a couple miles an hour off? It could have been. Maybe that was a 48. That's still a good throw, a great throw. But the thing is, that was a peak, and that was one time. If he's sitting 44, 45, he's a kid right now that's close to 90, and I think that the med throws are a representation of that. The other thing with the med throws is it's really hard to get a lot of forward trunk tilt with them. It's really, really great for separation. It just doesn't help you get the forward trunk tilt unless you're doing the chest open drills. So when you pick up the baseballs and you go into separation, you got to really feel the trunks moving out as the arm lays back, and that's really how you can take all the power from the med throws and get it into the ball when you can get your trunk really picking up. All right. How do you fix velocity leaks? So John Madden and I, which I'm hoping John comes down with us to the fuel factory. John Madden and I on YouTube did a video on velocity leaks. So I think what it is like, Zinger, give us some of your velocity leaks, but like a good example of one is guys that want to not separate. They want to move down the mountain and everything goes together, hips, shoulders, and arms. Not
it's front side dominant versus back side dominant. The main one that I see. I think I watched that video. I've watched all the ones you posted. I think the velocity was one of the first ones, but so I'm already brainwashed. I see it all the time where it's like the front side takes over, or the head goes, or the posture, or start to go this way instead of
that way. Right. So so what's another leak? You got another one off of your mind that you could contribute?
I mean, I think timing. Some guys, like for instance, will move too slow, or some guys will move too fast with certain, especially the upper half. It's kind of the same thing, but it can be a timing thing. I think lack of power. Sequencing,
man. I think
a lot of guys expect it to hard without developing the power first.
Yeah, sequencing the body is so important. Like, I was talking about today with the guy who's hit 90 today in the flat ground. He doesn't separate well. I mean, he separates positionally, but when he goes to peak, it all wants to catch up so quickly. So it all is actually peaking at the same time. And basically, I was showing how once you pull the sequencing apart, once you can get the hip to peak, then the trunk to peak, then the arm to peak, it's like you went from doing one jump to towards the target to 3 jumps towards the target. And every jump, you have an opportunity to pick up speed. And that's how powerful sequencing is, and separating your sequencing is when you can really pull it apart, it really allows you to amplify your energy all the way to the end. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a huge piece of it, and that's why I think what we talked about earlier with doing all the drills, you get a certain aspect of that delivery, let's say from a separation drill, then you need to make sure you do that one off the mound as well, and then transfer that over to obviously your pitching, which is the key, but it's a lot of times it is the sequencing.
Hey guys, I have a 14-year-old son that has topped out at 72. What can I be working on with him to boost up his miles per hour? Zinger, take over. I gotta check something for 2 seconds. Answer that question. Did you get it?
Got it. Yeah, I mean, I'd say the first thing would be to develop your athleticism. I think jump rope's a great place to start. See with a youngster and start to build in some of the sprint work like we've talked about, the uphill, the downhill, get in the sand if you can, use bands for some resistance on those sprints, and then start to get in the weight room with a coach that can teach you proper techniques and forms to the movements. I think also the 2-pound med ball drills, if you're just starting, I know we talked about the weight a little earlier, but we've used a basketball as well for younger guys. So we went from the basketball to the 2-pound med ball. That was a good little progression, but the number one thing is if you're looking for power on a mound, you got to develop power elsewhere, weight room, track, all that kind of fun stuff.
How much is the King of the Hill, and where can I get one? The King of the Hill is, I forgot where the price is right now, but go to toplossy.net/KOH. You can get everything on it. I have a program on it as well. Strength versus velocity, phased or not phased, depends on the time of year. Due to the stress on nervous system, it is difficult to maximize each when blended together. Right programming at the right time. Good point. Can I see gains on velo during season with a good routine? So a lot of guys talking about trying to make gains in season. What do you have to say about that?
I think in season, yeah, it's nice to see you peak at the end. I think in terms of your performance too. I mean, I think that's everybody's goal. Whether it's velocity or ideally hitting your spots, changing speeds.
Okay, I got to do a show. Bye.
The kind of things that get you out. So I think velocity obviously is nice. It's around everywhere, but I think it still comes down to getting guys out. It's not just about am I throwing harder or not. I think continue to get better every day at your craft. Whether it's your spin of your break balls or your change ups or your mental game, you should expect to be better at the end of the season.
I'm trying to gain weight with the program. I keep jumping between 76 to 79 kilos in the past 4 weeks, performance week, and I'm eating good food. Any advice? It's just a calorie surplus. You got to really eat enough to get well into a surplus. As far as how much, what do you tell your guys with nutrition? I mean, we can sit here and count calories, which works, but if you want to make gains, specifically when you're doing this much training, you got to consume a massive amount of food.
Yeah, I mean, I'm big into nutritional over nutritional quantity. So focusing on quality over the quantity. I think a lot of fruits and veg. We do a lot of smoothies, a lot of whole foods. I think that's a big missing link. I get a lot of guys that want to take supplements, but they don't even eat right. So I think you're going to start with a foundation. Real food, living foods have shown to be some of the best. Sprouts, some of that kind of stuff that hydrates you. I think hydration's a big thing we see. Also, where guys are not hydrating themselves. I think that's a big part of this process when it comes to recovery or performance. I think nutrition and hydration are huge keys.
Yeah, I think that's something, I mean, that's a whole program in itself and something we can talk a lot about, and I know it's big on both of our sides. Because, I mean, the kind of work we do and the amount of training we do, if you don't feed your body, I mean, it's just a matter of a time before you're going to break down and get injured. get sick, get unmotivated. I mean, it can really destroy what you're trying to do in all your work. Can I see gains on velo during season? Another guy asked. Everybody, because we're in season, here. Zinger, it's like everybody.
I think it's you get better at everything every day. I mean, yeah, at the end of the year, you're probably, if you're getting better, are going to be throwing technically harder, I suppose, But I think, once again, you got to focus on things that you can control on a daily basis, which is, the only three things you have control over is your attitude, your outlook, your preparation. So I think the preparation is a big piece. We've talked about it a lot already today, but you got to stay doing work and doing stuff that works for you in season, especially if you expect to have gains.
I think it's tough to expect that, specifically if you're doing it mechanically. I think you can do it in your routines, like getting better at your routines and keep applying the things that you're doing. But if you're trying to make mechanical changes to do that, I think that's where you got to be careful, because that's going to affect timing. That's going to affect, your rhythm. I mean, it's just, a lot of guys don't like the approaches like my approach that makes big mechanical changes, because they see guys, have a hard time getting back to that muscle memory or getting into muscle memory again. So that's why I don't like to see guys coming out of my programs and getting into a season until all the mechanics they've been learning and applying, they've done it so much it feels second nature to them. And that's the problem with I don't like rushing, because we wind up going into season and we haven't really solidified a lot of those mechanics that we've been using. So I mean,
it takes a lot of reps, for them to become natural again. Where it's like, oh, that looks really natural, and it's like, yeah, well, it took 5,000 reps to get it to that point, but yeah, it does look more natural. There's certain things that I think anything that's new is totally going to challenge, no matter how talented you are.
Right. And then, like he's saying, he's doing his speed and agility stuff and his workout stuff to make those enhancements in season. I mean, that can work, but the thing is, like with my guys, if you've already exhausted that in your off season, I don't know how much more you can do. With my guys, with my approach, we're killing ourselves in the off season to get as much as we can out of that time off. And then the season is almost a time to rest and cruise on it. It's not really a time to keep killing yourself or keep trying to build. I'd rather you be in there just maintaining and really putting your efforts into focusing on your game and focusing on your that's baseball really at that point. Don't you feel like you really
skills too, right? There's so much stuff that you can work on in the season. I 100% agree that off season is the time for if there's stuff that you're gonna. If I get a guy that's gonna come here and he's leaving for the season in a week, there's no way that I'm even saying anything to him that's a huge difference from what he's doing. I mean, I think that you have to designate a time of the year for your training. You have to designate a time of your year for competing. Realize that those are they are different things.
And I think, and wouldn't you say a lot of people fail right there? They fail at the routines through seasons, that has seasons, meaning they fail at, designating an off-season, applying the off-season approach, designating the season, applying the season approach, and keeping them apart and not constantly bouncing back and forth and that's why I've got to be careful going into tryouts and then going back to off season, going into showcases, going back to off season. That's where most of the injury is going to exist. Guys need to do a better job really defining and making a smooth transition in and out of season and sticking to the routines based on those seasons. If you want to stay healthy, if you want to get better, I think most people fail at that. Don't you think that's a big problem?
Oh yeah, huge. And then I think, the big thing too is that the more you've done this, especially when you're dealing with a pro guy is going to go off a field, especially in season where it's if he's going to go out and play catch and he's hanging a little bit that day and he might throw, he's not going out there and freaking trying to blast the ball through the guy's chest. He's going to go in, get his feel, okay, here I go. And then he's going to have days, it's different if you're a starter or a reliever. starter is the day after. That's my heavy volume day if I'm going to have one. And then the other days I'm getting ready for competition. I might be sharpening up the pitch. Like, usually it's only a couple pitches that get you. It's like, hey, I know I need to sharpen this thing up, or I'm slowing down my arm speed on my changeup, so my bullpen. That's what I'm going to focus on. And in my visualization, my mental work, that's what I'm going to see happening. And I think that kind of stuff in season is way more valuable than, like you said, going and just crushing yourself in between starts or whatever.
What is a good age to go to your camp? I always tell guys it's good. Best age for me guys to get into my programming and come into the camp is when you are passionate about baseball. Meaning, I think there's a point in your life where, it's a sport. You're learning who you are, and then you get to this point where it manifests into, I just love everything about it. I love buying a new glove. I love watching the games, and I love the seasons. When I'm not playing and working on it, when I'm playing, once you get to that point where it really is something you truly couldn't see yourself doing anything else, I think that's when you're ready for this kind of training. Because I can work at any kid at any level, and this programming can. It really fails with the kids that aren't really into it and care about it and are really passionate about it. So to me, I just want someone, I don't care how old they are. I've had 10-year-olds in here more passionate than a 20-year-old. So it just comes down to me if this is really what they want to do. How do you address guys working with you?
I think, even for me, I'd rather not even do a lesson, for instance, if it's somebody that's going to come in once before the season. Or hey, I got to try out next week, I'm going to come in for a lesson. I'd much rather have the guy who, you're talking about, that's obsessed. Somebody that they're going to do their homework. They're going to study this stuff when they're at home. They're going to basically, it becomes an obsession where you're striving better than you were yesterday at your skill or at your art.
That's why I stopped doing lessons.
It's a no-brainer, though, right? I think it's because for guys like us too, we only have so many hours in a day, and if you're gonna, put as much energy into something as I know we both do, I think that you want to have guys who are committed to the whole process. And it's even for me, if you come in for a month's okay, but it's I'm looking for guys that are coming for 6 months or a year or a few years to really be able to get some lasting results. And become what you can be.
Yeah, and like I was saying, that's why I don't do lessons, because I want people to get into programming, because programming says, hey, you're not going to be doing this one time a week or for the next 3 weeks. You're going to be doing this for your off season, your preseason, your in season, and you're going to be doing this every day, and here's the routine, and this is where we are, and this is where we want to get. I don't want to work with someone if that's not how they want to do this, and I don't want the lesson anymore, because once again, I want them to commit to something long term and make it an investment in something long term. If not, I think we're both wasting our time. I'm sure you can understand why that approach can work.
It's not an oil change.
Yeah, right.
It's something that is a lot more of a process. And I think guys that are willing to see that and are ready to get to work. Yes, I think that's obviously, they're going to benefit the most from a program like yours or a program like mine that is going to look at long-term athletic development. Not just
Exactly.
Hey, is this going to work tomorrow?
Someone just asked, that's Alex asked, how old was Adam Mosher when he started doing Top V? So Adam was pretty cool. Adam, I love this kid. Zinger, you should hear about this. Adam he's living in New Jersey, comes down here probably at 14, 15 years old, and loves it so much he's in New Jersey. He convinces his parents to move from New Jersey to Louisiana, and he lives and he goes to high school here now and trains and lives here. And so really cool story. How many guys literally move from the another side of the country to come live near you and do their high school next to you so they can train at your facility. Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, talk dedication right there.
And he's doing great. Like the kids.
I followed who you're talking about. I
Yeah.
followed some of his stuff with you.
I should put his numbers out. He's doing really well. I'm excited for the kid. Let's see. He texted.
That's a great story.
Yeah, he texted me the other day. This is what he said. His ERA is a 1.2 ERA, 1.2, 23 Ks in 17 innings. He's batting .549 with 4 doubles in 7 games. He's tearing it up. Don't you love these two-way guys, Zinger?
Oh, I do love two-way guys.
I think when I was in high school, my coach wouldn't let me. If I was pitching, he wouldn't let me hit, and if he let me, actually, I started in high school as an outfielder, but I wish I would have stayed more of a two-way guy. When I went and played professionally in Europe, I begged them to let me hit. Then they started letting me play in outfield. I miss it, man. Like, to be honest, if I went back to baseball, Zinger, and started over, I would pitch, but I would stay a two-way guy as long as possible.
I totally. I love. I've got a kid. In fact, you met him when you were here at Cal Langford. But he's a kid who was basically, a talented pitcher, so they moved him up to the varsity. But then he didn't hit, but now he's a senior, and he's hitting. And it's like all the reps that we did, especially in the backyard back in the day, where it's like it all kind of came to fruition for him. Where it's like most guys would be like, "Why are you wasting your time with those swings? You're a PO." And he was doing it partially for fun, and he swings right and he's a lefty thrower, so maybe perhaps a little balance. But I think stories like that are cool, where you get an opportunity again. I love playing first base, third base, and pitching. Obviously, but I love every facet of the game. I think it's a good idea also as a pitcher to get in the batter's box once in a while, because it reminds you how difficult it can be to hit. Also, it's like I think it's a good balancer.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of rotational power in the pitching delivery. It's just it's not the best thing to rely so much on it. Studies show a lot of the energy towards the target is more valuable, but it's still a rotational move, specifically coming out of hip to shoulder separation. So, I even take guys that don't have a lot of rotational power, and I get them to swing. I'm sure you might do the same thing. Hit off the tee.
And I think even sometimes I like to have guys, if they're right-handed, hit left-handed, or left-handed, hit right.
Balance it out.
Right. It's a shift mentally, where then they go back to the other way, and it's like, oh, that's what that feels. And maybe it wasn't even a verbal cue or anything that you were even saying. It was just they got in there and they're like, okay, and then they're like, okay. And I just think it helps. It's a balance.
Me too. Hi, Brent. I work with Daryl Coulter, the man, and he recommended me to work with you. More than likely, I'll be coming down for camp in April. That's great news, Alex. Excited. Yeah, Daryl sent us some great, really talented guys. So I'm sure you're probably really talented. I'm excited to have you here. Tell Daryl what's up. He is the man. And Zinger, tell him about your shirt. I love your shirt.
Oh, I got the Bigfoot trains here.
I love that, dude. Where'd you get that idea?
Well, we just have so many beasts that are in here. Miguel Montero was in here one day catching.
No way.
And back there, and he's talking about all these giants, that we have in here. And then I had done a birthday for Xander with this, basically the outline of this logo. And we'd spray painted it on some stuff for some target throwing. And part of it was for him, and then part of it was Miggy saying, we got all these giants in here. And I'm like, yeah, we got a bunch of Bigfoots running around here.
I love it, dude. That's pretty cool. It's kind of like when I had Gorilla.
I'll have to get you one of these when you come.
Definitely. It's kind of like when I had Gorilla Baseball with Top V. Now you got Bigfoot with Fuel Factory.
Yeah. And we have the manimal training, So it's like we got the manimals and the Bigfoots running around.
Well, I stole your hashtag Fuel Chuckers. I love Fuel Chuckers. I'm sure that goes with Fuel Factory really well, right?
Yeah, we like that one.
Yeah, that one's cool. Alex says.
Also, the first time you hear it, you're like, fuel chucker, and they're like, what are you saying? What are you calling me? Oh yeah, I am. That's right.
Fuel chucker. Can you buy that online? Do you have it online?
The shirt?
Yeah.
Right now we just have it through Instagram. If anybody messages me on Instagram, I have a coach that makes the shirt. So.
All right, so they can reach out to you, Coach Zinger.
Reach out to me. Yeah, different shirt colors and prints and all that fun stuff.
Cool. Alex says the great thing with Adam Mosher is he has years to get really accurate and have high velocity before he's 18. Getting into the top V program early allows the player to develop if they are passionate. The cool thing with Adam, like, I really think his value is a two-sport guy. I mean, a two-skill guy. Like, I really want to keep him hitting and pitching. Zinger, you got any guys that you're doing that with where you've even encouraged them to stay, two positions?
I mean, I encourage all of them if they can, as long as possible. I've got an interesting story of Kid Max that comes in and he throws righty, he throws lefty,
He's
he hits
amputated.
lefty, he
Wow.
hits righty. It's like he's pretty dang good at all of them. And it's kind of fun. I guess, obviously when he's in a tournament, he can decide, left-handed hitter, I'm going to go lefty, right-handed hitter, I'm going to go righty. I think it's fun, Also, if you can continue to play the game, your baseball IQ is going to go up. I think a baseball IQ at the next level is huge. So the more you understand if you are pitching, what everybody else is doing, and kind of if you have that vantage point. Also same thing as we said earlier, getting in the batting box, I think is a good reminder. And it's just, I think the best athletes tend to be guys that can do both. There's obviously exceptions.
Zinger finally got a question perfect for you, and this is something Zinger and I want to elaborate and do more with, especially from Zinger. Zinger's really good at this. I've been seeing a lot more on ball rotation, adding to pitch speed. How do you add more spin on the fastball, Zinger?
I think a lot of it has to do with what we've talked about. As far as late trunk rotation, having a late delivery. But it tends to be, when the hand can work out here, you're going to get better spins than you're somewhere over here. I don't know if you can see me. I'm blocked out. But
Who's
someone to have less spin efficiency than being a guy who can be here or here, wherever that is.
You know who I still think today is probably one of the best examples of that? Did you play catch with him? Was David Ardsma. Did you ever play catch with him?
I did. And you could be 120 feet away and look like the ball was going to be at your chin to just hit you right in the chest because it was just like...
Dude, have you ever seen a ball move like that?
No. I mean, we talked about it. I've only had a couple guys where I'm like, wow, that ball kind of spin. Like J.J. Hoover's like that too, where he's got just that clean stroke through it where it's like it just spins. Matthew's actually like that too. He's got high spin efficiency. At times we all get out of whack, and it's like any of those guys like that I named, or any other guys, where it's like we get like this, all of a sudden we'll see that spin efficiency. If you're using a Rapsodo or Diamond Kinetics or whatever, you're going to notice that the spin is literally different than the true, the good backspin or ride and carry or all that fun stuff people like to talk about. But I think it comes down to having a late delivery with good direction, working through the baseball instead of around the baseball.
And there's a lot of velocity there. Like that's my point with getting the trunk. If I can ride.
Hand in hand, right?
What?
I think it all goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
Even command, guys will talk about command, and it's like the better your delivery is, yes, your velocity up, and yes, your command is going to go up. And then also look at those other little things. Yes, those things go up too, whether it's spin rate or whatever. I know there's a lot of different theories on how that stuff works, but I think the consistency that I've seen is you clean up the delivery, those metrics clean up themselves.
Yeah, I mean,
more of a result.
Right. I mean, there's a correlation to velocity and spin rate. So your velocity is going to go up, your spin rate's going to go up. Now doesn't mean everybody at a certain velocity is at the same spin. Obviously, that's going to be different. but just you picking up velocity.
I think one of the number one, we talked about it, is using rosin.
Yeah.
Like rosin has an effect on the ball, the way that it comes out. Or, I'm a firm believer if you have really good calluses, that can help as well. Where it's like if you have soft fingers versus like, hey, I've thrown a lot, I'm built up, I'm not getting little blisters and that kind of stuff. I'm going to tend to have a better delivery as well.
And I believe in theory that also too where you push to the ball. I believe if you're pushing down on the ball as opposed to pushing up or right behind it, I think you're going to get more spin too. So I think if they could get a force vector angle of force being applied through the hand, I think that's going to have a high correlation to how it's spinning.
Yeah, because I see guys who they throw it on the way up, or they throw it on the way out, instead of staying through or whatever.
Yeah. So now that.
I'd like to hand it to me. Like if I'm throwing with somebody, it's like I really just want to see them hand me the ball, where everything is lined up, and everything is whatever you want to call that. But I just see them hand it to me versus something like
yeah.
Around it,
yeah. So your force vector angle in an early release is going to be more directly behind the ball.
Cool.
Your force vector angle late in release is going to be more down on the ball, and it should create that hard spin. You'd think, right? I think it's a good theory, right?
Well, and even from here, it's the same thing where it's like, I threw on a 3D motion analysis today, which was fun, but it also showed me correlations that I've seen in some of that data. But it's like if I come out and round the ball here versus if I stay through the ball from my slot, like all that stuff goes up. Whether it was the mechanical efficiency now is higher, or the spin rate now went up, or the movement on that pitch went up. It's like the better I can get to somewhere like almost hitters talk about, they get into that slot. I think throwers, they can create that slot there, or wherever they create that slot. But I think that's what allows that hand to work through the ball versus around hitter coming up on it.
All right, Zinger, we're collaborating on this together. We're going to have a Top V Fuel Factory pitch development program, right?
Yes, sir.
So what we can do is we're going to combine the biomechanics to the pitch metrics and give you an approach to make influences on spin in all aspects. Wouldn't that be a great program?
Yes, sir.
We're going to work on that when we come down in March, or at the end of March. So we're going to be, guys, we're going to end it right now. My Instagram just went off, so let's end it. We got the 22nd is a clinic at what time? What's the time again?
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock clinic, the 22nd at Fuel Factory in Phoenix, Arizona. 5 o'clock clinic, $50. Register at fuelfactorybaseball.com.
Fuel Factory Sports.
Fuelfactorysports.com. And then the 23rd, 24th, 3X Velocity Camp at Fuel Factory in Phoenix, Arizona. And you can sign up there at topvelocity.org. I'm pretty excited. You pretty excited, Zing?
Baby.
Me too. Let's go down there and hang out with some Sasquatch and have a good time, right?
If polls, I'm going to invite polls so you can meet him in person.
Cool. I'm excited. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you doing this. That was pretty cool. You think we should do it again?
Yeah, let's do it again.
Next time, give them more of a view of the facility. I want to see everything.
Okay, do that.
Next time.
Take you on a tour next time.
Yeah, give us a tour, or like maybe get up on top of the office and shoot down, and we can see everything, right?
I like that.
All right. Yeah. Tell y'all build. Tell Anthony y'all need to build like a little porch up there, and you can shoot down at everything.
Oh, we've talked about it. We like that idea. I'd like to have a bleacher up there.
Yeah, that'd be so cool.
Watch the activities.
Okay, man. All right. Well, it was awesome, dude. We'll do it again. Looking forward to seeing it at the end of the month.
Sounds good, brother. I'm looking forward to it too.